Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Chapter 13, where we're talking about protozoa, the animal-like protists. Okay, if you'll remember, they are eukaryotes. That means they have their membranes, and they're generally classified by how they move. Now, today we are going to talk about things that don't quite fit anywhere. Things that have been shuffled from grouping to grouping, things that are kind of in their own group, and just to give you at least a couple ideas of the things that may not fit, because nature does not fit into our cute little human categories of how life is supposed to be. Okay, our first little friend is called the Coloctodon. Colodictyon? Whatever it is called, it is spelled as you see. This tiny, tiny little creature was not discovered until about 8 years ago. They've discovered there are a few variants on it, but primarily they are pretty much identical. They tend to have this roundish shape, and what you'll see way up here at the top is part of why it doesn't really fit anywhere. It's the only known creature with 4 flagella. I know that may not impress you at all. However, all of the others that have ever been discovered only have 1 or 2. So they really do not understand why this thing has 4. And they're not all attached the same way, and they're used for movement and things like that. However, they do have 4. So they don't really fit in with mastigophores, the flagellates, completely because they have too many flagella. And to make things even more complicated, they also can form the pseudopods like an amoeba does, kind of slinking and sliding around. The false feet, they can reach out and grab things. So it has 4 flagella and it can form pseudopods. They still don't know a whole lot about these things. They are starting to figure it out. By the time your children are taking this class, maybe they'll have some more information. But for now, it's kind of stuffed in with the protozoa because it eats and it's a cell. Otherwise, it really doesn't fit because it also can use algae, apparently. Kind of like a extra food source, not just eating it, but actually getting the sugar from it from photosynthesis. So it really is just kind of odd in what it does. Okay, however, our next creature has completely switched from kingdom. This is affectionately known as a slime mold. Some of them have delightful names like dog vomit slime mold. These used to be classified in with fungi, like mushrooms and molds and things like that. That's where it gets the name mold. However, they've realized that it doesn't really fit there either. So they have taken it out of the fungi and put it in with the amoebas in the protozoa because of the way it's able to move, and yet it isn't really like an amoeba either. So let's take a look.
On these rotting tree trunks, something is alive. They can stand upright and produce spores, but they're not fungi or plants. When they're hungry, they spread across the forest, chasing food, but they're not animals. They're slime molds. A slime mold exists at the boundary between liquid and solid. Each one is like one big cell. And it moves in a very strange way. See how it pulses? A little bit forward, a little bit back, spreading and searching for bacteria or fungi to eat. But hold on. Today we have someone else who moves in strange ways. The host of It's Okay to Be Smart, Joe Hansen. Oh, hello, Joe.
Hey there. So from down here, it's pretty obvious that slime molds don't have legs or any appendages. They move just by changing their shape.
Scientists want to know how this works. So they brought a type of slime mold into the lab and fed it some oats. At the University of California in San Diego, they put a piece of slime mold under a microscope, watched its weird pulsating movement up close.
That motion is triggered by chemicals moving around inside it.
Water, moving in waves, carries tiny calcium molecules from back to front and back again. The molecules are too small to see. They're not those circles. Those are the slime mold's many nuclei, among other stuff. But scientists can track the calcium flow. In this video, it appears in light blue. The calcium triggers a reaction that makes the cell wall contract.
The slime mold squeezes itself, almost like a water balloon.
That contracting and sloshing helps the slime mold inch forward, bit by bit. And it kind of begs the question, could we build something that moves that way? I mean, usually we think of robots as solid, hard-edged machines that roll or walk from one place to another. But what if they were fluid and powered by chemical reactions? Like this Japanese walking gel, maybe this is a really early step towards some hypothetical robotic goo that could squeeze into the narrowest parts of your body. Hey Joe, imagine one of these inching through your arteries, helping clean them out as it goes.
That might be kind of creepy. Hey Amy, I think I have a slime mold story even weirder than yours.
Oh yeah? Try me.
Well, over on my channel, we're gonna look at some slime molds that actually help each other. They're even kind of smart.
What? That's nuts. I'll be right over.
Thanks for having me on Deep Look, Amy. And everybody, you should definitely subscribe.
Okay, and because of course all questions must be answered, we do have to go to his channel, which is It's Okay to Be Smart, in order to see what he's talking about with these slime molds and how they're showing intelligence of something. So let's take a look and see.
This is a pretty simple maze. It shouldn't be too hard for you to solve. Of course, you're pretty smart. You've got 86 billion neurons at your disposal. You're a member of the most intelligent species on the planet. But what if you were a pulsating wad of yellow goo? I'm gonna let my friend Amy from Deep Look introduce you.
This is Physarum polycephalum, a slime mold, which sounds like something you might find on stale bread, but it's not a fungus. It's a jelly-like protist. You can think of it like one big cell holding millions of nuclei, and they might not seem like much, but slime molds are smarter than they look. Just watch.
This slime mold can solve mazes. It does so by first exploring every path, and then when it's found the food at either end, it retracts any paths that don't connect the points. Solving a maze involves remembering where you've been. Where does a single-celled ball of goo hold memories? Physarum does this by leaving chemical trails to mark dead ends, so it can remember where it's already explored. When slime molds are presented with a maze that has more than one solution, they'll even figure out the shortest one. No matter the shape, they'll almost always connect distributed food sources by the shortest path. If that doesn't impress you, realize that once you start adding points, mapping efficient networks is an incredibly complex problem. The humans need big computers and complex math to solve. This living ooze is redefining what it means to be intelligent. They've even been able to map the rail system of Tokyo and the major highways of the United Kingdom. Another kind of slime mold shows a different kind of smarts. This is Dictyostelium, a cellular slime mold. Now, instead of a creeping blob, this slime mold lives most of its life as single free-living amoeba, gulping up bacteria. But when it runs out of food, something amazing happens.
One cell starts emitting a chemical. This attracts other cells. And once they join up, those cells start emitting chemical pulses of their own. This is called chemotaxis. And the bigger the mass gets, the stronger that signal, until eventually there's tens or hundreds of thousands stuck together.
These once free-living cells now cooperate like a multicellular organism, coming together like Voltron and moving in unison. This slug travels farther and faster than any single cell could on its own. It's about to undergo a second incredible transformation.
After the slug migrates away, it flattens itself and begins to sprout. A thin stalk grows out, lifting a fruiting body into the air. From here, spores will be released to be collected by passing insects and carried to plentiful food.
What's amazing is the cells making up the stalk die. They sacrifice themselves so other cells can live on. It's not that different from what a wheat plant does, growing, dying off, and releasing the next generation into the wind. But a plant lives its whole life as a multicellular organism. These amoeba are separate individuals, yet they're acting for the benefit of others. This is a principle called altruism. It goes against what we might expect from natural selection, that every individual wants to succeed and pass its own genes on. But altruism suggests that helping the group that we're genetically related to can help the entire species survive. We see this in animals hunting together, worker bees tending to the queen, meerkats standing guard over their dens, or chimpanzees sharing food. But these slimy species especially challenge what we think of as intelligence, because so many of our preconceived notions don't fit what we see. Anthropologist Jeremy Narby writes, "We struggle over words when the slime mold solves the maze because our concepts don't fit the data. It's not that nature lacks intelligence, but that our own concepts do." What he means is any view of nature that puts humans in a separate category isn't a very good view of nature at all. And if something as simple as a slime mold can solve problems, can come together and cooperate for the good of the group, it's a nice reminder
That if the goo can do it, so can we.
If you want to get an up-close look at how slime molds move and how scientists are using that as inspiration for future robots, then follow me over to Deep Look. And as always, stay curious. We can inherit a lot from our parents. Hair and eye color, height, but we can't inherit everything because some biological traits are acquired during our lifetime. The only way to transmit biological information between generations is in the letters of our DNA.
Okay, so you can see that these slime molds are actually able to solve problems. They are able to act in altruistic ways to help each other by sacrificing themselves. And this, of course, goes against natural selection, which is what makes it really remarkable and gives more evidence to a creator instead of random proteins finding their way together and somehow creating these different creatures. Okay, until next time.